Again, thank you all for being here, and it's exciting to see such a diverse group of folks from all over the country and around the world. I'd like to acknowledge our Sarasota University president, Dr. Mike Levins, who's here this evening.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, thank you so much for being here. It's great to see you all.
And we also have our Director of Admissions, Ellen Lastinger, who is here as well, and she'll be dropping some information in the chat. I'm Dr. Lindsay Pollock, and I'm the provost at Sarasota University. I'd like to say Sarasota, the Montessori University. And we are the first and so far only MACD accredited university, which we're very proud of and delighted to be recognized by MACD. We offer a bachelor's degree, a bachelor's completion program that leads to a bachelor's of science in Montessori education. And we have a master's in Montessori education and Montessori leadership. And next summer, we'll be launching our doctoral program in Montessori education. So watch in the chat for the link to admissions information if that sounds like something you or someone you know would be interested in. Tonight, it is my honor and pleasure to introduce someone who is near and dear to my heart, someone who I hold in the highest esteem, Dr. Nicole Evans, who is the Senior Director of Leadership at Embracing Equity. Dr. Nicole has dedicated her life to the pursuit of transformative education, fueled by a passion ignited during her formative years, spent alongside her father in his 8th grade classroom. Drawing from this early experience, Dr. Evans has spent the past 27 years championing the educational needs of families, students, and educators within diverse settings. And I know we are in for a real treat tonight, listening to a very important message from Dr. Nicole. So I'll turn it over to you at this time, my friend.
All right. Thank you so much, Lindsay, Dr. Levins, and Dr. Lastinger for having me this evening. And hello, I am so happy to be amongst other Montessorians. It feels like home. And so I'm very excited to bring to you tonight a presentation. I'll share my screen. And this presentation is called Safe Spaces versus Brave Spaces. And tonight, what we're going to do is unpack understanding the difference and how to build them. So Lindsay did tell you a little bit about me. And she started by saying, I'm letting you know my pronouns are she, her, and hers. I am the Senior Director of Leadership at Embracing Equity. And in that little box tells you a little bit more about me. I am a TK, you heard that, teacher's kid. I spent a lot of time in my father's 8th grade classroom. I am the I also served as a Montessori principal here in St. Louis. And with Embracing Equity, I lead a year-long leadership residency with Embracing Equity. Currently, I'm an adjunct professor at Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville, where I teach a course called Teaching for Diversity and Social Justice course. I am mom to 3 humans, 3 fur babies, 1 dog, 2 cats, and I am mom to my granddaughter. So just a little bit about who is presenting and who stands before you this evening. All right. We're going to check our space, and I'm going to check our space with just a little bit of grounding first. We're going to check it in a couple of ways. All of us are very aware that the triangle represents the child, the adult, the environment, and the interconnectedness. Now, Dr. Maria Montessori, in my mind, and I'm hoping in your minds too, was brilliant. Very, very brilliant. She understood a few things. She understood that they are connected. She also understood just scientifically, the triangle is the strongest shape of them all. Strongest. Google it if you're not sure, but you should know that, right? So makes sense, total sense that that would represent what really, really, really represents Montessori. And I love that the triangle is equal, right? So what she was reminding us to do is to put equal amounts of preparation of the child, preparation of the adult, and preparation of the environment. And so for now, this presentation is really more about preparation of the adult, the environment for the adult in service of the child. And I think as we talk about this and we talk about equity, safe space and brave space, right? We are easily able to infuse this in our classrooms for our children, okay? So we're going to check our space in another way. Are you all ready? Let me get to this one. I am asking everyone to look in your reactions. If you can find, can we see reactions, Lindsay? From people,
Yes,
from
folks, does everyone see reactions at the bottom of your page? I see Cheryl, you're shaking your head. You'll see a little heart at the bottom in your toolbar at the bottom of your screen. And if you click the up arrow, you'll be able to find some symbols there for reaction.
Yeah, if you would, show me a heart. Everybody, show me that right now. Give me a reaction.
I see lots of hearts.
Okay.
Cheryl, Margie.
Yeah, very good, very good. Okay.
Yep. Oh, lots of hearts.
All right. Yep, that's going to stand for comfort zone. And I'll tell you what that means in a minute. Will you also look for seedling? That's going to stand for our growth zone. Look for seedling. And then show me your seedling reaction. Do you see where you can?
I haven't seen that one before. That's a new
There
one.
it is. Victoria has it.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
Show me your seedling.
Oh, I see lots of seedlings. Yes.
Okay. And then now, fire. Show me your fire.
Ooh, Vicky's got fire showing.
Yes, Cheryl has them floating.
Yes. Anna?
Great job, Cheryl. Yeah, very good.
Oh, a lot of fire there.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. I am going to read some statements, and then you react to them for me. If this statement, you're really comfortable with it, give me a heart reaction. If you're like, okay with it, might have to grow on me a little bit, give me the seedling. And if what I say to you puts you in panic mode, put the fire emoji. Y'all ready? All right, here we go.
Ready.
The first one, eating alligator for dinner. Where are you? Lots of fire, some growth. Okay. All right, very good. It's fire for me, y'all. All right. Okay. What about this one, everybody? Public speaking. There's a huge audience, and there you are, the speaker, maybe even the keynote. Oh, yes. Okay. Dr. Michaels and Dr. Levin said, yeah, love it. Ellen's like, no, it's growing on me. Yeah, come on, y'all. Oh, wow. Okay. Luis loves it. All right. Very good. Very good. Okay. What about meeting new people? Where are you there? Meeting new people. All right. Lot of hearts. Some people, that's still growth. Yeah. Awesome. What about trying something new in which you know you might fail. You know you might fail. Where's that for you?
I forgot that I signed up for this thing. It's I'm on a thing, but she wants like growth. I don't see a seedling.
Do you see seedling? If you go there, there's a little 3-part where you can type in what you're looking for. And if you type in seedling, that'll come up. Try that. It's there. Sometimes a little hard to see. Okay, good, very good. What about this one, you all? Talking about your emotions. Talking about your emotions. Where are you with that? Okay, a lot of hearts, some growth. We got some growth areas. Yeah. People seem to be pretty comfortable. Not Dr. Lindsay. Dr. Lindsay said that's fire. No way. Okay. What about this one? Asking for help. That's hard for some people. What about you? Asking for help. Asking for help. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's growth. That's great. Takes growth. What about, let's get deep, talking to a colleague about racism? Where are you with that? Talking, yeah, sometimes growth. Fire for some, like, I don't know. I don't know. Victoria's like, I got it. I got this. Come see me. Yeah. Okay, what about talking to your family about racism? Yeah, that might be different for you. Yes. Oh, some people are like, oh yeah, my family, easy peasy. Just not sure how to do this at work. Yeah. All right. And what about saying something when you see racism happening right in front of you? Saying something about it. Yeah. Growth, some fear. Yeah. Some people are like, okay, I got it. That's easy peasy. I'm there. And then what about this last one, y'all? We're going to make it fun. Dancing in public. What would you do there? Okay. Well, hearts. Ellen's like, don't even try it. Louise is like, don't you dare. Hannah's saying, absolutely not. Latanya says, I love it. All right, y'all. Very good. I want you just for a moment to just close your eyes with me and just think about some of the statements that I said. And think about what would need to be true for you to have a heart in all of those categories. What conditions would need to be true? Would you need a brave space or a safe space? And yet, someone might be asking, Dr. Evans, what's the difference? What's the difference? So, if you'll just open your eyes and come back, we are going to explore what the difference is as we reflect really quickly. How do you typically engage in something new and outside your comfort zone? Do you do it with excitement, fear, nervousness, or a willingness to try? How did you know something is safe to do versus brave to do? If you thought about those sentences, what did you feel, notice, experience in your body when I said them? So just take a second to think about these questions. All right. Let's go to our next. Let's start with defining a safe space. Here's the definition. A safe space are environments where individuals feel protected from judgment, harm, or discrimination. They're designed to provide comfort and emotional security, especially for those from marginalized or historically excluded groups. The purpose of a safe space is to create a place of refuge where people can openly share experiences and identities without fear of backlash or invalidation. The characteristics of a safe space is there's an emphasis on empathetic listening, non-judgmental attitudes, and respect for personal boundaries. Now, while safety can always be guaranteed, there is a commitment to minimizing harm. And here's the role in equity. The role in equity is that it provides people the psychological safety needed to express their identities and experiences freely, allowing them to find solidarity and healing. These spaces are crucial in building trust, particularly for individuals who may not feel secure in other settings. I'm going to pause here. Are there any questions about a safe space? And if so, just unmute yourself and come on out. No questions? All right. What are safe space examples for adults in Montessori? You might be as adults gathering in affinity spaces. This is in Montessori in any space, really, but you at work, okay? You might have affinity spaces. You have some relationships, close relationships with a friend or a colleague. They're your safe person, your person to go to, right? That you might have it through one-on-one coaching sessions. And you know that you are in a safe space if your cultural experiences and expression is not only accepted, but expected. That's the key. So that's what a safe space is. All right. Now let's put it right next to a brave space. Okay. So let's see what the differences are. Definition: a brave space is an environment where people are encouraged to engage in difficult or challenging conversations, knowing that there may be discomfort or disagreement. They promote openness and courage in addressing topics that might provoke strong emotions or differing viewpoints. This is what's most important. They can be uncomfortable. Don't have to be. Sometimes they're not, but they can be. Here's the characteristics. Even though they can be uncomfortable, we emphasize mutual respect, accountability, and a commitment to navigating that discomfort constructively. These spaces involve setting clear norms, encouraging active listening, and understanding that growth often requires risk. And the purpose of brave spaces are, rather than prioritizing comfort like the safe space, brave spaces prioritize learning, growth. This is where that seedling would be, you all, right? Our safe space would be that heart, right? The goal is to support authentic conversations where people confront biases, reflect on privilege, and engage with difficult truths. So what's the role in equity here? A brave space is essential for equity work because they push individuals and groups to explore topics like power, privilege, and oppression. They enable participants to deepen their understanding and commitment to equity by facing uncomfortable truths and working through difficult discussions collectively. That is a brave space. Are there any questions about a brave space? And if so, just come off mute and ask away. All right, we'll keep going. Y'all got this. Here's some brave space examples for adults in Montessori. There are co-created community agreements. You might have facilitated meetings with your staff, your teams, or with other Montessorians. There's structured, planned difficult conversations. And often there's unplanned difficult conversations. But if you set the container for a brave space, both of those kinds of conversations can go forth. Okay, let's talk about one more thing. To have these spaces, you need psychological safety. And so what is that? That's the through line. That's what goes through really both of those kinds of spaces. And so for psychological safety, that's an environment where individuals feel safe to express their thoughts, ideas, and concerns without fear of negative consequences. We actually also want psychological safety in our classrooms. We want brave spaces in our classrooms. We want safe spaces in our classrooms as well with our children. But mainly today, just focusing on the adults. Psychological safety is negative consequences based on dynamics such as role, gender, race, experience, etc. There's not discomfort there, right? This is those negative consequences could be being fired, exiled, or excluded, punished for making others uncomfortable. So that's what we mean when we say negative consequences. It could be any and all of those things. In a psychologically safe space, people are encouraged to take risks, ask questions, and admit mistakes, which fosters open communication and collaboration. I'm going to give you an example of that that happens at Embracing Equity. We have our monthly team meetings, and at the end of our team meetings, everyone is encouraged to share a mistake that they made and what they learned from it. What that does, it has us show up fully, humanly, where we're able to admit our mistakes so that we can get help. Remember, I asked, where are you with asking for help? Sometimes people put fire because it's not psychologically safe to do so, to ask for help or to admit that you've made a mistake, okay? So more about psychological safe space, when team members trust that they won't be judged or punished for sharing their perspectives, they're more likely to engage fully and to contribute to a positive team culture. This is the benefit of psychological safety. It's important in workspaces as it can lead to increased innovation, better team dynamics, and improved overall performance. Okay, in order to have that, we've got to build trust. And I highly recommend the SCARF model. So I don't know if you've heard of that before, but let's learn about the SCARF model.
One of the most interesting things about teamwork is that it seems like it should be easy, but trust makes working with others more complicated than it looks. Our brains are constantly trying to decide if others are a friend or foe, and the bucket we put someone into determines how open we are to trusting them. The SCARF model is a helpful way to understand how trust is won or lost between humans. SCARF is an acronym. S stands for status, or how we feel in relation to others. When we feel lesser than others, it affects our ability to build trust. It's natural to try to make ourselves look good in relation to others in an effort to prove our value to the group, but this can inadvertently make others feel small. In a team, it's important to make sure that no one person is positioned as more valuable than another. What can you do to make sure everyone feels valued? C stands for certainty. The brain really loves certainty because when things are certain, our brains can relax. Conversely, uncertainty is scary. Think about it. In monster movies, you almost never see the entire monster. They're always lurking in the shadows, keeping your brain on guard and alert. Because the brain doesn't like unknowns, it is constantly trying to predict what will happen next. But without enough information, the brain will fill in the blanks, usually with worst-case scenario possibilities. This leads to people feeling unsettled and vulnerable. You can combat this problem by communicating often. Information leads to certainty, and that builds trust. A stands for autonomy. When we're given autonomy to make decisions, it signals that others believe in our abilities, and that builds trust. But when we're not given a choice, it makes us feel like our opinions are not valued or wanted. Here's a teamwork tip. The next time you're updating a group on next steps, try giving them a choice. Even a tiny choice is rewarding for the brain. For example, if you were trying to determine what time to start the meeting, it would be more effective to say, would you like to start at 8 or 8:15, than simply declaring the meeting will start at 8. R stands for relatedness. Humans are hardwired to connect with other humans because we know we are stronger together. When we feel like we are accepted for who we are, we feel safe to be ourselves, which is the conduit to thinking, creativity, and collaboration. But when we feel like we're not accepted, our threat response is activated and we keep our talents all locked up. Within any team, creating a feeling of belonging for all is the key to trust. F stands for fairness. The brain has a fundamental need for things to be equitable. When we perceive that something isn't fair, a threat response is triggered and trust is compromised. From now on, put yourself in other people's shoes and consider how fair they might perceive a situation. And if you're not sure, don't be afraid to ask, does this sound fair to you? Trust is crucial for teams and collaboration. With the SCARF model, you have a powerful framework to build trust within your teams. Try it on and see how it works for you. eLeadership Academy, online training, real-life results.
All right, y'all. Let's keep going. Uh-oh, I don't know how I got all the way back there. My apologies. All right. All right. Here's some questions to ask for each of those letters in the SCARF model. Are we creating status? Are we creating space for people to feel less than? What practices in our space could make people feel undervalued? C, certainty. How do we prevent the unknown? How are we communicating clearly? What can we plan ahead for? A, autonomy. How do we give everyone a choice? How do we give everyone a voice? Relatedness. How are we leading with acceptance and belonging? How are we practicing exclusion? Are we, right? Fairness. Are we practicing equity or equality? Which one needs to live here? And you've seen the many pictures of the difference between equity and equality, the kids watching the game, the baseball game over the fence, and all of those things. We put it simply this way. Equality is everyone having a shoe. Equity is everyone having a shoe that fits. Very simply. If all basic needs are met, y'all, psychological safety is nurtured. If just one need is not met, humans lack trust and operate in an anxious stress response, unable to navigate. And what comes up is either fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. Has everyone heard of the fawn? I know we've heard flight, fright, and freeze. Do we know what that fawn is? No. Okay. So that's a new one that they've added. Fawn is where you're overly pleasing, trying to please someone, right? You're in a state, and so you just start, what do you need? And it's almost toxic positivity. It's not quite that, but you're just overly pleasing to someone. So that's the new F that they've added as a response to stress. Okay. Reflection. Think of times when you experienced each type of space, safe and brave, and how it impacted your engagement. What do you need to feel psychologically safe? And I wonder if we'd pause here, if someone can name a time when they have been in a safe space or a brave space. So I'd like for somebody to come off mute and say, here's when I experienced the safe, here's brave. Let's get engaged a little bit, y'all.
We did some work with the person for our school that like it should have been a safe space, but like we were being very vulnerable. It was definitely a brave space. Like I guess theoretically we could have not been invited back, but that did not feel like that didn't feel like it was going to happen, but it definitely felt like people could carry what you said with them. So it felt more like a brave space than a safe space.
Nice. Thank you, Cheryl. Anybody else? Or you share an aha moment that like, here's what's new learning for me today. Maybe it's not. Anybody else like to share?
I so appreciate this information, Dr. Nicole, because I recently read a book by Amy Edmondson. She wrote The Fearless Organization.
Yes.
And so oftentimes we hear people talk about, these sort of these soft skills or, these soft components. And what was interesting in her book was she really drove home the point that this is not only good for your people, it's good for your bottom line too. And I think about, the bottom line in education for us. In the world of education, we are reaching a critical point of, teacher attrition. We're having a hard time retaining and attracting teachers. And when we think about ways in which we can make the workplace a more appealing, safe, and brave space, the aspect of psychological safety is critical to keeping our teachers, keeping our families, and helping people feel valued and seen and heard in their learning communities, in their classrooms, in their schools, and as administrators, as many of us are, leading schools, it means less teacher turnover. Edmund talked about fewer sick days, fewer days people are calling out.
Yes.
Fewer discipline referrals, in classrooms, fewer behavior problems, all the things that we aspire to, and we can attribute much of that to this idea of psychological safety. How are we creating environments that make people feel welcome and appreciated, right?
Yes, definitely. And as if you are sitting in a position of leadership, this part, I will say, you all, like in my traditional teacher training, nobody told me that. Nobody said, as a part of one of your roles, you need to prepare the environment for the adults as well in this way, right? And I discovered it along the way, mid, right? That culture and climate was one of the biggest parts of my job to do. And so, and of course, then that translated to the classroom as well. Anybody else want to give us input here before we move on? And do you know what you need to feel psychologically safe?
I think for me, I think our CGMS cohort is a very safe place.
Mm,
I think that we have all at times shared things that feel maybe a little uncomfortable, but know that, and I don't, and so it's different from Brave because I'm not sure we've all like challenged difficult conversations, maybe a little bit, but I would say that um, we've all cried in front of each other and we've all laughed with each other and we've all I think walk away from those our weekly meetings missing one another and knowing that we have each other's backs and friendships. And so
mm,
for me, I think that's my experience for having a safe place. um,
nice.
I would say that I haven't necessarily had many of those brave space situations,
Mm,
but I think
mm.
that, I mean, I mean, that's what I would love to learn more about, how to have those and have people have a brave space so they can feel safe talking about things. Anyway, but for
Yeah.
me, I love this cohort is everything to me. So
Awesome. Awesome. And guess what? That's equity. That's equity. If you can show up authentically yourself, if you can be in a space that's safe and then move to brave, that's equity. All right. Anybody else before we move on? Okay. Let's see. Impact in the workplace. How to build brave spaces. You perfect segue, Amy. Really, Amy and I did not talk about this beforehand, but perfect segue. So, one of the first things that we do to build brave spaces is we create group agreements that disrupt the dominant culture. We do truth telling in our brave spaces. We do wholeness or mindfulness so that we can have a mind and body connection. In a brave space, there's a feedback loop, right? That's that. Sometimes it gets, that discomfort, but there's a feedback loop. I'm sharing with you, you're sharing with me. You're going to hear lots of things about impact, intention, impact, those kind of things. In a brave space, there's accountability to one another. And there's trust and connection building. And when harm happens, because it will, we restore and repair in our brave spaces. And we come up with a way to do that. Okay. So those are some things that you could do to build brave spaces. Group agreements. So we're going to talk a little bit about each of those. For group agreements, what that does is it nurtures equitable standards for participation and engagement. Here's how we are willing to be with one another. The group agreements guide conversations to ensure that they focus on topics like racial equity, justice, and understanding. With group agreements, it creates a learning environment where participants feel like they belong and are encouraged to participate. They're focused on shared understanding of how participants want to interact and show up. And group agreements model healthy discourse, even when participants may not agree with each other. That's what the group agreements does for you and helps create that brave space. In practice, okay, this is just something for y'all to think about. Think of what kind of space you want to build and the elements needed: trust, accountability, engagement. And as you're doing that in your group agreements, draft agreements that create shared understanding and commitment to that space. And then check in with your group. What do you need? What do we need? Every single meeting that we have, we check in and say, here were our group agreements. Do we need to add anything here? Okay. Truth telling. Respectful gesture by verbally acknowledging truth that we share demonstrates respect for excluded history and cultures. Most of us have made a shift from the traditional back in the day when I was taught about Thanksgiving, right? Most of us have made that truth-telling shift to be more honest about what that holiday actually means or meant and what it really is. And that's being respectful to cultures, to our indigenous families that we either know or just indigenous folks that we need to be accountable to. Truth-telling, educational tools that can serve as a teaching moment and raising awareness. It promotes dialogue and future exploration of history. And truth-telling is a first step towards action, but not an alone solution. But again, remembering in our classrooms, in our stories, in our timelines, right? We want to ensure that we are truth-telling so that our children know going forward. And we do that also for one another. In practice, truth-telling can look like land acknowledgments. It could look like agreed upon terms and definitions, and it could look like paying attention to our language. We often in Embracing Equity use the term people of the global majority versus people of color. People of color is not inaccurate, but a better picture is people of the global majority. That is empowering language. And so if you take one thing away from you here today, I'd like to challenge everyone to change that in your language. People of the global majority. All right? Mind and body connections. We know this, you all. During stressful situations, the amygdala in our brain jumps in and tells our body that there's a potential threat that we need to be aware of. The amygdala is responsible for our emotional responses, our learning, our social interactions, decision-making, memory, and the regulation of the adrenaline and cortisol levels. The mind-body connection, it connects our minds to our bodies, and it can change our biology to remain calm and grounded. When we are in amygdala hijack, when that amygdala just takes over, that's where we get stuck in fight, freeze, or fawn, which is that over pleasing. Make sense? Okay. So I love this poem, and I'd like to give you an invitation to a brave space. Together, we will create brave space because there's no such thing as a safe space. We exist in the real world. We all carry scars, and we all have caused wounds. In this space, we seek to turn down the volume of the outside world. We amplify voices that fight to be heard elsewhere. We call each other to more truth and love. We have the right to start somewhere and continue to grow. We have the responsibility to examine what we think we know. We will not be perfect. This space will not be perfect. It will not always be what we wish it to be, but it will be our brave space together, and we will work on it side by side. Such a beautiful invitation to a brave space, y'all. So there's that. I know that's in the middle. I'm going to rush through a little bit. But don't forget, we also need a feedback loop. And that feedback loop is ongoing ways to gather feedback. It can include surveys, interviews, assessments, group conversations. It can help identify weaknesses or challenges, cultures that directly impact belonging, decision-making, innovation, meeting our DEI, anti-racism goals, and brave spaces to thrive. It creates open communication for diverse voices to be heard, even if they are not spoken aloud. That's the importance of surveys, interviews, assessments. So sometimes after your staff meeting, Send a survey. There's some voices that folks may not be ready to put their voice in the space. Feedback loop is a process to create goals towards more belonging, more equity, more learning, more creativity. In practice, this is what it looks like: surveys and feedback forms anonymously for candid responses for those who may not feel psychological safety yet. You can create focus group and listening sessions for deeper insights. You can use or start a DEI committee, affinity spaces for allies in the work to bridge between the organization and team members. It's a loop. Analyze the feedback and take action on it. And here's another video, but I think for time's sake, I might have to move past this. I'll send it to you. It's Brené Brown, which I love Brené Brown's work. So I'll send that maybe to you all if you want that. But what accountability looks like in practice is calling people in and not calling them out to nurture empathy and curiosity, holding ourselves accountable when, not if, but when we make mistakes, to do better, to learn more, and to grow resilience when we mess up. Holding others accountable by being vulnerable and sharing our emotions, stories, and experiences instead of blaming others for our pain and anger. Another Brené Brown. These are so good, but I'm afraid I'm running out of time here, but I will send them. We'll maybe put them somewhere, post them somewhere so that we can go back and look at them. In practice, trust and connection building, we can ask, does our space use the SCARF model? Are all basic human needs of belonging met? We can practice vulnerability and active listening skills. And don't forget to incorporate group agreements, truth-telling, mind-body connection, feedback, accountability, and empathy. Restoring and repairing. In practice, acknowledge the harm. Understand, accept, and acknowledge that harm has been done. Stay curious about the impact of a behavior. If the intent didn't match, ask for clarification. Self-reflection when we cause harm unintentionally. What can I do better next time? And as a community, decide, how will you address similar harm if it occurs again? And we're at the end here. I'd like for you to think about one action step that you can take to promote a brave and/or a safe space in your Montessori setting. And I think we have time for people to share. So let's give it a minute. I'd like for a couple of people to share. What's one action step you can take? I'm going to incorporate sharing mistakes. Nice. Thank you. Normalize mistakes. Yes. Thank you for dropping them in the chat. Thank you, Meg. Yes. Yes. What else, y'all? Anything else? Yes. Surveys after staff meeting. Yes. Very good. Yes. Yes. Anything else you'd like to drop? Land acknowledgement. Yes. Very powerful at school events. For my school, we for our upper L children and our junior high, we had them actually do the research and help us create the land acknowledgement. It came from the children. So powerful, you all. So powerful. And then we decided that we would do one at we would do the land acknowledgement at all school events. And some of our upper L classes decided that they would do it every class meeting. It was amazing. So amazing. Phenomenal.
It sounds amazing.
Oh my goodness, goosebumps. Oh my gosh, yes. What else? Anything else? I'll think of. You're definitely sharing your step in the box. And are there any questions for me? Yes, yes, that poem is so amazing. Yes. It's phenomenal, y'all.
Mhm.
Phenomenal. Any questions?
Dr. Nicole, I feel so inspired after your presentation this evening.
Good, good, very good. I wasn't sure about my time. I feel like I should have showed the videos, but I think it's okay. I'll send them to you, Lindsay, so that
It's
people
perfect.
can
It's
go
perfect.
and look at them on their own time. Brene Brown is amazing.
Yes,
So,
she is.
yeah, so make sure you look at those. Do meditate. Yes, yes, yes. Meditate is so. I started opening every staff meeting with mindfulness, with wholeness, and it doesn't have to be long. And so I started, and then I passed it to staff members. And there are so many ways to do wholeness and meditation, right? We would do breathing and closing and mindfulness. I would do a writing wholeness where I would give everybody a prompt and people would share out. That we would do some moving wholeness. We would just move our bodies together.
I
All of
love
that.
that.
Yes. Okay, Cheryl says we keep a list of preferred. Oh, I love that. Pronouns and names on our shared drive. I love it. Yes, Amy. Yes, yes. That's our main work is with schools. And if it is okay, I don't know if it is. Lindsay, in addition to working with schools, I also coach folks. And so if it is okay, Lindsay, could you send
Yes,
folks
yes.
something that they can get a free 30-minute coaching session with
Oh
me?
my gosh, that would be fabulous. We can definitely share that with our participants tonight. And Dr. Nicole, would it be okay? Would you mind typing your contact information in the chat?
Not at all.
That would be such a gift. And just tonight, this has been just so inspiring and truly, the gift of you sharing your time and your talent and expertise. I'm so grateful to you, Dr. Nicole, for always being here and being a champion and just making the world a better place in so many ways.
Thank you. So what we'll do is that's my email address, but we will send you the direct link to a free coaching session with me so you can hop on and we can talk about whatever you want. You might have questions for me, and I will definitely give you a coaching session. So thank you all so much for joining us tonight. I know there are other places that you could be, and you decided to spend it here with me and with us. And we so greatly appreciate y'all. Thank you so much for coming. And then I'll pass it over to Ellen. Ellen, you want to have closing words with the group?
We're doing the closing words, and then I'll pass it to Lindsay, who will have more closing words. Mine would be that our next semester at Sarasota University begins January 7th. We're enrolling for the master's programs and the bachelor's completion program. And I am putting some contact info in the chat. So please just reach out if you need any information, and I'd be happy to help you. And now, Miss Lindsay.
Thank you so much, Ellen. I so appreciate you. Thank you again to everyone for making time to be here tonight. Again, thank you, Dr. Nicole. You are the best, and I appreciate you. And everybody, I hope you all have a fabulous holiday season. Whatever you decide to do, enjoy it and practice some self-care. We're here to support you. If we can be of any service, please reach out. Thanks again and have a wonderful evening. Good night.
Bye, y'all. Hope to see
Bye.
you soon. Bye.